Hi, welcome to Rhonda Said. I'm Rhonda. I love saying things. And today I'm doing an eyeshadow lovers tag. And I was tagged a while ago. And thanks, Becca, for not giving me any crap. But a couple weeks ago, Becca tagged me in the eyeshadow lovers tag. And today I'm finally getting into it, and I plan on tagging several of my friends, and I can't wait to see what their answers are going to be. I didn't even know what my answers were going to be till I started digging around in my collection. And there are 10 questions. And the first question is a palette I regret I didn't buy. And it is the Give Me Glow Juicy Olive palette. And Give Me Glow is the company, and the Juicy Olive palette is a 6-pan palette with beautiful shades and olives and shimmers, and it's sold out. I don't know if it's ever coming back. I try to find it on Mercari and Poshmark, and it's all sold. So maybe one day I'll get that palette. I don't care if it's second market or whatever. I would love to have that palette in my collection. A palette I regret buying. The Natural Lust palette from Too Faced. I regret buying this palette. I even bought it when it was new and full price. And it's not a bad palette. It's just the most neutral palette in the world, with a pop of pink, a tiny bit of green, and a pop of blue, and then a black. And it just does not make the greatest looks. I mean, so many of these colors are almost exactly the same color that I think, and this one could also go with another question later, where at the packaging, where I bought something for packaging, I thought the packaging was just so stunning that this kind of goes with that question too. But I regret buying this palette, and they, it's been marked down in a TJ Maxx for a while, and this palette, big regret. A palette that I haven't used as much as I thought I would. I've got it over here, and it is the Blood Sugar palette from Jeffree Star. This was my first Jeffree Star purchase, and I was, once again, packaging sucked me in. Packaging is big on a lot of these palettes, but I've hardly used this. I mean, less than 5 times that I've used this palette. And it is beautiful and pigmented and fantastic and all that stuff. But I always kind of just treasured it as like an accomplishment because it was hard to get it when it first came out. But I haven't used it nearly as much as I thought I would. A palette that I've used more than I thought I would, and they don't put this out anymore. But I adore this palette. It's one of my very favorite palettes. It is the Gimme Butterflies from Colourpop. A beautiful butterfly. And then the colors are just beautiful pinks and shimmers and pressed glitter. And I just love this palette. I make the cutest looks with it every single time. And I will never get over this palette. I'm like, you can tell, I've really dug in deep in a lot of these colors. Like, I'm not quite to pan, but I'm closer to pan on this than I am a lot of things. So I really love the Gimme Butterfly palette from Colourpop. A palette that I've used more than I thought I would. I already did that. My favorite half neutral, half colorful palette. This was difficult, and I haven't used this very much, but this is a gorgeous half neutral, half colorful palette, and I have made some fantastic looks with it. And this is the one that really stood out to me because it had so much great color, but you can also do some fantastic neutral looks with this. And this is the ABH Norvina 4. And I know that people weren't as excited about this one as they were the first 3, but I just have the number 1 and 4, and this is just a stunner. Let's see, a palette I bought for packaging. Now, I'm a package sucker, as we've already discovered. But this Manny MUA Lunar Beauty Spellbook, the Moon Spell palette, is absolutely glorious. Such attention to detail. It looks like a book. You slide it out of the case, it looks like you have pages. It's got a raised lock. It's just, and it came out last fall, so it was his Halloween release. And it is just one of the most beautiful packages of makeup I've ever had. And it's not that the palette is bad, because it's got some of my favorite colors in it. I just don't reach for it that much, but I just, once I saw this packaging, I really had to have it. Now, a package, let's see, a palette where I like the shimmers more than the mattes. And this is a newer palette from this year. And this is the Kaleidos Escape Pod. And the shimmers in here are just insane. They're just so fantastic. Look at that. Look at those. And I don't give a fig about the mattes. The mattes are okay, but I'm really here for the shimmers for this palette. A palette where I like the mattes more than the shimmers. It's another Colourpop palette. There's some Colourpop up in here. And it is the All That palette, which is a newer palette, and I absolutely love this palette. And the mattes are fantastic. The shimmers are okay, but there's mostly mattes in here. And they make the most beautiful red looks. And I just love this palette so much. So it is the All That palette from Colourpop. And then a palette that happily surprised me. And I just got this palette. And it happily surprised me. It is the Gather Round Sisters palette, the Hocus Pocus palette from Colourpop. I've swatched it and done a look or two with it, and I love it. It is so fantastic. It is totally up my alley, as you've seen with a lot of the colors that I like. This is really just in my wheelhouse, and I really, really dig it. Then, last but not least, a palette with the most interesting color story. And I'm going to say it's the Jawbreaker palette from Jeffree Star. And it's just the most colorful. I reach for this palette all the time. And it's really very interesting. You can do neutral looks with it. You can do colorful looks with it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can put it on your head like a hat. But I really appreciate this palette, as it is completely the first real rainbow palette that I had, and the palette that I've done the most with. So that is the end of my palette tag. Now I get to tag some people. So I'm going to tag Flawed and Fabulous Stacy. I'm going to tag Joe, Just Joe. I'm going to tag James, The Best Loaf, MUA. And I'm going to tag I think that's it. I'm just going to tag those 3 people. So I can't wait to see what you do with this tag. I hope you have a fantastic day of your choice. And maybe they'll get around to making theirs more quickly than I did. And thank you again, Becca, from Becca's Beauty Journey. I really appreciate you nominating me to do this. And I hope you have a great day of your choice. And we'll see you real soon.